Alright, we should be streaming. Let's go ask Twitch. Oh, I have to log in again. Okay. So I have no idea whether I'm streaming or not. Well, it's giving me a spinny wheel, so I presume I'm streaming. Hey! It actually cut to my stream. That's unusual. I guess I'm definitely streaming. Hoorah! Let's tell everyone on Twitter the good news. Streaming hashtag game dev. If you wanna see me do spaceship, this is not even nice spaceship stuff. And that was exciting. All right, so everything should be running and everything should be working. Let's just double check that I've got audio. I do have audio. Yay! All right. Don't know if anybody's gonna end up watching today, but we'll take a look. I put in some filters, so if you haven't played with the new filtered part system, you should. It will allow you to find the parts you're looking for much easier. I also updated to the newest version of Beta Unity, and I'm putting on my headset because we need some noises, and I figured, okay, let's go ahead and find some noises. I just got started with this sound here. Let's just make sure it actually makes the sound I think it's going to make. Yeah, got some wind in there too, but whatever. I just need something quick. So we're going to create an audio directory and stick it in. And I literally just created it. Here you can see the overall audio take I did, which was just me making random noises with a book. Alright, so let's grab this one here and make it our next noise. That didn't work. Oh, it did. It's just back here. So, what we want to do is cut the front part even more aggressively than this. I don't remember exactly how to do that. Been a long time since I've had to make any audio. I just learned how to use Premiere. And I still don't know much about how to do audio in Audacity, because it's not a program that gets used a whole lot by me. But what we're going to want to do is apply some effects to this to make it even vaguely useful. So right now it sounds like this. No. It sounds like what you get when you start at the beginning Audacity. Almost like a clap. So we're going to go ahead and bring that down a couple of notches. There we are. All right. Can we get it from the beginning, please? There we are. Alright, so now we have this sound and the other sound as well, and there's some garbage on the end, but I think that's just a visual glitch. So now we're going to go ahead and pump it up just a touch, because it's a little bit soft right now. There we go. That'll do. And the reason I'm doing this is because I can give this out to whoever I want, and it doesn't matter. So we'll call this a clap. A slow clap. Low clap. That's not low clap. Alright, there we go. So now we have a couple of audio sounds. And we're going to use them for placing items when we place items into the world. We're also going to go ahead and add some background music. I went ahead and grabbed myself some music that I already bought a long time ago. And we can pick, I have loads more of these, and I'm not able to distribute them when I distribute the project source, but I can put them in the game proper. The only question is which one we want to use. Unfortunately, since there's nobody in the chat, I can't ask. So, if you happen to be watching and not showing up for some reason, let me know and I'll start playing songs. Otherwise, I'll just start to create the audio system. So for our audio system, we're going to need an audio. That's not how you spell audio, fingers. We're going to need an audio source here. Now, the issue here is that the universe and the audio listener and the main camera are disconnected. We really should put this audio source maybe on the main camera. But I think we can disable the distance. Don't really remember. Doesn't look like I can disable the distance on these. That's interesting. I thought I could. Oh, I haven't played anything except for, if you can hear me, you can hear the audio pieces. I haven't played very many. I didn't play any of these songs, for example. They sound like this. And if you couldn't hear that, let me know. Isby says if you turn off 3D sound, I think it just plays at listener. Is that what it is? Let's take a look. That would be handy. Because I think there's still range. It's already set to 2D. Well, let's just go ahead and put in an audio clip. This one I'll do. And see what happens when we hit play. I can certainly hear it. And I can still hear it. So you're right. All I had to do is disable it. Can you hear the music in the background right now? Okay, I think that what might be happening is you should be able to hear this. Can you hear this? Okay, what if I turn it up? If I go to here. So you can't hear any of these noises? You know what? I think I know what it is. I think it's because I set my advanced audio properties up. Yeah, so I'll just change that. When I'm recording for Premiere, I have a different set of audio qualities. So hold on, here we go. Can you hear it now? You should definitely be able to hear it now. Unless it has to be rebooted in order to hear it. You still don't hear it. Oh, there it is. Good. So the reason that you couldn't hear it before is because it's on track 1, and I mean it's on track 2, and apparently these streams only include track 1, which is kind of unfortunate. I was using when I record my when I recorded my playthrough of Life is Strange, I recorded all of my audio to channel 1 or to track 1, and all of the game audio to track 2, which was very handy. But apparently, Twitch only takes stream 1. I don't know whether or not that's a Twitch constraint or a OBS constraint or just a streaming constraint. But either way, it works now. So we've got ourselves some audio. This audio source is just our background music. I think we need our own background music audio source. So let's go ahead and do that. Because the one on the universe is not going to be a background audio source at all. It's going to be our the one we do for making noises when we put stuff down. So now that you can hear the music, yeah, I know how it is, Isby. Now that you can hear the music, I'm going to play through a couple. This is Carbon. And this is for construction music. I have like tons and tons and tons of tracks, but these are the 10 I downloaded today. Oh, I kind of like this one. Eclipse of 3. So here's I Will Return. These are all super nostalgic because I used some of them in some of my former projects. Oh, I'm not going to use one with someone singing in it. So this is, it's up to us. That one's a bit heavy, I think. It sounds less like construction music and more like we're about to get shot by some enemies music. Here's A Long Way Back. I think I used this one for time acceleration in the prototype. What bread simulator problem? Are you talking about music getting intercepted by the YouTube and Twitch police? I actually talked to this guy at quite some length over the past couple of years, so he shouldn't have any sort of bot claims against his music. If he does, I'll be extremely annoyed. I don't know, this one feels a little bit too creepy for construction music. This is a little bit bassy and drummy. Let's. Oh, shrunk it. Nah, construction music has to be something a little more relaxed. All right, so right now I think that the options are okay. So right now I think that the options are Eclipse of 3, Carbon, and Remember. Let's go ahead and just drop those into the bass track, or the bass directory here, and play through them one more time. This is Carbon. Oh, Jojo Jet. Yeah, I fixed that thanks to Isby Stream. Here's Eclipse of 3. And here's Remember. Well, Isby, that's going to be too late. Now that you have heard all 3 of the main tracks that I happen to have today, you should choose one. Either way, I've got hundreds more tracks that I own the rights to put in the games, so I'm not too concerned, but I'll probably go with Eclipse of 3 if nobody has any strong feelings about the matter. Because it's just the right amount of tinkly. So eventually we're going to need to have a setup where we have some kind of audio mixer handler, which handles changing background musics and so on and so forth. But that would be getting ahead of ourselves to do it now. Jojo says they all seem to be too intense for construction. Well, I do have some slower songs, but I'd have to download them and then import them, and that would take like 20 minutes. So let's go ahead and just stick with this guy for now. By the way, there's a new version out, which has filters, so you should go ahead and try that if you like. They look like this. I think the background music's too loud, so I'm going to turn the volume down to half, say. We can have that be adjusted by a file, no problem, but let's wait until we have, by a slider, but no problem, but let's wait. No reason to rush it. Yeah, each one of these was created, this is number 3, this is pack number 3. And each one of them was created by the same artist, but you can tell which games he'd been playing. All right, so now we need some background tones for construction noises and so on and so forth. Now, there are a couple of ways to handle these kinds of things. One way is to have every part have a bevy of noises attached to it, but the problem is they're going to have noises attached to them anyway, due to the fact that they are going to be creating noises when they're operational. Wrangling a whole bunch of noises is kind of annoying. I think it would be better to have some general purpose construction noises, and then just tell a general purpose construction class that it should be playing the noise for the part in question. So that's what we're going to create. We're going to create an audio event handler. So, and hopefully that's not reserved by Unity. We'll drop that into the universe here. Come on. Take your damn time. Boom. No? There it is. No, I have mail. Oh. I don't have anything important. Woke up bright and early today, and my boss decided that I needed to work overtime, so I spent the morning doing disaster recovery from our friend the hackers. Why does MonoDevelop want access? I don't think I want it to have any access. Just installed a new version of Unity, so this is the first time I've opened up this new version of MonoDevelop. It didn't crash. That's a wonderful improvement. So the audio event handler will have to have an audio source, public audio source. And then here in awake, we're gonna go ahead. Oh, not even awake. Don't need any of this. Yeah, awake is good. We're going to want to be able to do some static stuff to this audio source, which means we're going to want to have a static audio event handler active or live. And down here we will say live equals this, but we're going to check and make sure that we don't have more than one. If live does not equal null, debug.log, warning, audio event handler already exists. Name of this live. When you spend a long time coding line-line intersection and it only works with horizontal lines, I always hated those. There are established algorithms you can use. A lot of times it's not worth trying to think it through on your own, although it can be a fun exercise. So we're also going to have public static play, void play, and then an audio clip. Is that right? Just an audio clip. Yeah. Clip and a float volume equals 1. So when this happens, we will say live dot play clip volume. Protected void play audio clip float volume equals 1. Debug.log playing fx clip. So there are a couple of things that we might want to think about here. One is that we're not moving to the position of the object. This audio event handler is a UI-based audio event handler, meaning that whatever you play here will be heard regardless of where the audio is actually supposed to happen. So non-spatial universal audio. No location info is used, and all played audio will be heard at full volume. Now, the reason to make that clear is because there are times when we are going to want to use audio that has a relative position to whatever we're thinking about. And for that purpose, we're going to want to use local audio sources rather than this. So we're going to go ahead and play it by saying audio source dot clip equals clip, and then audio source dot play. Now we can do some other tricky stuff here. Audio source dot volume equals volume. We can do some tricky stuff here if we decide that we want to have overlapping effects. We can have an array of audio sources and stuff like that. But for now, I think it's fine to just go with a one-off, but we'll put in a note to do use an array of audio sources to allow for overlapping sounds. Edge Surfer Guy says basically volumetric audio sources. Well, by default, excuse me, by default, Unity allows you to turn any audio source into one which takes into account the range of the audio listener and the various locations it might be in, because each location can have an audio filter applied and stuff like that. But I've turned that off in this case because I want these to be universal sounds. Jojo Jet says, what do you think of Pikmin? If you mean the game, I think it's a clever idea, but it was always a little bit annoying for me to play because the Pikmin were really dumb. If you mean the actual way they look, not a fan, but just me. So now we have an audio event handler that can play whatever noises we want. The problem is right now we don't have any idea what sort of audio we're going to have it play, and we don't have any sort of list of audio types. You can like try and store those types on each part, but it's much better to be more careful about it. And what we're going to do instead is we're going to have a setup that allows us to specify which audio sources we're going to want to use, or which audio clips we're going to want to use in specific situations. Now, I don't think we can use dictionaries, but we'll give it a shot and see. It's not a huge deal if we can't use dictionaries, but I think that even in the beta, the dictionaries don't have any display. No thing. Okay, that's what I thought. So we're going to have to create a struct. String name and audio, or public string name. And public audio clip. The way I say it is audio sources go through walls with no built-in functionality to handle that. That's why you generally want to use audio zones. Most of the libraries I used to use audio zones very, very well, but I can't use those libraries because I can't redistribute them. So we'll be using some more basic zones. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to change the way that audio gets played, which is why I used to use libraries a lot. But in this case, it's not a big deal. Most of the sounds you're going to hear are going to be fake anyway, because you can't really hear anything while your camera's out in space. So let's go ahead and create some more stuff here, like public void, public keyed audio, get keyed audio, string name. The reason my voice cracked, by the way, is because I recorded like 30 hours of audio over the past week. So my voice was not in great condition. Keyed audio, ka in keyed clips. If ka.name equals name, return ka. Debug.log, cannot find audio clip plus name. Turn null. Cannot find keyed audio clip. So this will allow us to get our keyed audio. And now what we need is a function to play keyed audio. Public static void play key. String key float volume equals 1. Now what we do is we say audio clip C equals live.getKeyedAudio key. If C equals null, then just return we don't care. Otherwise, play C, comma, volume. All right, so there we go. We're going to go and put in some keyed values now. Come on. Why don't you have any? Oh, is there a... Oh, I was returning the keyed audio clip. We're going to return the audio. I ate some really, really bad curry for lunch today. So I'm hoping that it's not going to affect me at all. But I don't want to have 2 short, hour-long streams in a row. I prefer to have them. There we go, keyed clips. So we're going to have 2 keyed clips to start with. 1 keyed clip would be build. 1 keyed clip will be delete. And the 2 audio tracks that we have at the moment are book and low clap. So we're going to use the book for build and the low clap. As I mentioned before, I have to distribute these, so I have to make my own sound effects or use CC0 sound effects. In this case, this should be fine, though. The next step is that when we actually build something, we want to play an audio. So we're going to go over into our exterior construction controller and build it. So down here, we have our place object somewhere. Set target. Here it is. So this is cursor pickup. This is one of the spots where we would be using a remove. So that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and put in a remove right here. Audio event handler dot play key delete. And we're going to go ahead and put the other one in our loaded cursor. Click. Boom, ba-doom, boom, boom. And the last thing we want is that when we hit escape to ditch our cursor, here it is, we're going to want to play the delete again. Perfect. Let's try it out. It's still too loud. That audio is still too loud. Let's go ahead and try it out, though. I have the effects backwards. Brilliant! I was like, that doesn't seem right. But also the background music is still way too loud, so we're going to bring it down even further. So, yep. I put them backwards. That's fine. We'll just reverse them here. That said, we need a third one. It's going to be select. And I'm just going to use the book for that as well. That'll work. Because the select is what we get when we select a part from the list and load it into the cursor. Don't remember the order of operations there. So here's the ship components view. Here's the parts list. I think that this calls a specific function. Let's take a look. Click. Menu game object set active false. ssc.activeComponent equals clicked. So here in active component, Well, I guess we'll just do it in here. Yeah. Perfect. Let's try it. Hey, a Craigster. I guess we Craigs gotta hang together, but I'd prefer not to be called that. What's the game about? It's about building ships. If you want to play it, I can put in a link here. Hold on. Paste? Nope, that's a piece of code. I will have to go and fetch the link again. Such pain. Basically, you build ships and put people in them and stuff like that, but I haven't gotten far enough for you to do anything other than the most basic shipbuilding right now. And right this moment, I'm just adding in some sound effects and music in the hopes of making the game feel a little bit more ready. But these sound effects are really very, very basic. No, they're pretty bad. I might have to put in some more sound effects before I release this version, because the sound effects are really awful. Let's think. What other things do I have on my desk that would have good sound effects? No, that sounds like pills, even though it's not. Oh, that's not a bad sound. Well, let's go ahead and do a little bit more. Now, let's do other work for now. I'll leave the sound as it is for the moment, and just change the default audio event handler sound to a little bit lower, so that we don't have to put up with the sounds all the time here. He's asking if I've ever seen the anime Dinosaur King. No, I haven't. What is my next move for today? There are so many things I have to do. I have to make it so that the UI for the parts starts to exist. And that might be a good thing for us to do next. Yeah, I agree, Jojo Jet, but I'd prefer to have the sound not actively be worse than not having sound. And Craigster is apparently making an anime-based fan game, which sounds fun. Now, what is the next step? We're going to have to create something that fetches the various resources and displays them and combines them. Right now, we use a simple system that fetches specific class types. And I think that might be okay. I was going to switch over to using interfaces, but don't think I need to. I think it'll be okay. Well, when you're making a fan game, it's a guarantee you'll get cease and desisted. So just live with it. I mean, if you never get far enough to get noticed by anybody, then sure, you can go along forever. But these days, people think that copyright and trademark get infringed by literally everything. So If they want to, they will shut you down. And if they don't want to, they'll shut you down. And if they notice you, they'll shut you down. And if one of their bots has something vaguely similar to what you're doing, they'll shut you down. And if anyone has ever claimed any sort of access to any of the various pieces of media that look similar to what you're doing, they'll shut you down. And randomly, they'll just shut you down for fun. I've had people claim infringement on videos of me talking. So, it's all bullshit. Well, Jojo Jet, it's not exactly true. The thing about copyright is you don't have to enforce it. The reason that it gets enforced so much is because companies are drunk with power right now. Nobody would legitimately mistake a free fan game for the same product as the original. So, unlike trademark, you don't have to enforce it, and even trademark, it's only required to enforce it in certain situations. So we're going to build some visuals, I think. So in order to build some visuals, we're going to need to have some pop-ups which reflect the contents of our various components. Hey, Evil Luigi. My guess is because you do things on Saturday. So to make parts that have components, what we're going to want is a new canvas. Later on, we'll change it over into not being a canvas, but just being element. And we're going to go ahead and put this in world space because we're going to be mounting it on top of a part. So to get a good feel for that, let's go ahead and drop a part into our universe. Any part will do. How about a fuel tank? There we are. So here is what happens when you put a canvas into the world view. It's still super big, as you can see. So what we're going to want to do is have it shrunk down to a size which is a little bit more reasonable than this. Now we could shrink it down by changing the pixel size, but that's actually a really poor idea. And instead, what most people seem to do is change the scale. I think there are other ways to do it, but scale changes are fairly straightforward and fairly easy. And that gives us this density as 100 pixels wide, which is a little bit too dense. So let's go ahead and bring it up a couple notches here. Even that's probably too dense. Now, in the end, this is going to be an adaptively scaled object. In fact, we may end up putting it on the screen. No, I think screen space is still too aggressive. This should be fine. Anyway, let's go ahead and add in a panel. So the panel is going to be what actually shows our object in question here. We're going to want to have it mounted on the canvas so that we can move the canvas around freely. And that's fine. So this is good. Now, what sort of things are we going to want to put into our pop-up here? Well, we're going to want to put basically a list of objects, or a list of interactable UI elements. This is very similar to how when you click on a room, it pops up with a list of all of the interactable things in the room, at the moment limited to beds. Or in the way when you click on a construction tool, it'll pop up all of the different things you can construct. The list itself doesn't know anything about any of them. All it knows is that there is going to be a list of things that you might be able to do. So we're going to create a content scaling content size fitter here. And we're going to go ahead and create a vertical layout group like this. Have this be preferred size. Here we go. I'm going to mount this to the bottom. Oh, that's the left. That's the bottom. And that way it'll grow upwards and have an infinite amount of space to grow. Put in just a little bit of padding between them. And that's all we're going to need. We don't need it to expand to force height, though. That's not something we need. All right, so let's put some stuff inside this panel. We'll call this panel content and add in a new UI panel. Now this panel is going to be visible, but these are not. So this will be a layout element with a preferred height of, I don't know, 30. And basically we're going to make one of these layout elements for every class of thing we want to be able to see and or control. Since this is a tank, why don't we start with the fuel load, the current amount of resources in this tank. And we're going to go and put in some text box. And this text box is going to contain the... I guess we should make it bold. It's going to contain the name of the resource that we are using. So right now this is only 100 pixels wide. And that's actually close to what I would like. I think it's fine at 100 pixels wide. So let's go ahead and enter in something here like fuel, just to get us started. And then we're going to have a horizontal slider. We might replace this horizontal slider later with something more customized, but for now this will work. As the slider goes, we're going to want to disable interactivity. And of course, change the disabled color to something we like. We don't need the handle slide, so take that off. And when we're here, you can see that there is never going to be a perfect match due to the way the default system has some weird scaling glitches built into it. So we're going to go ahead and fix that right now. Just have a 3, 3. There we go. Down a touch like this. Now, our background color is the good color, is the mostly full color. So let's go ahead and make it a kind of blue-green. Sorry, the fill area is the good color. Got that backwards, didn't I? This is going to be the blue-green. Whereas the background is going to be the empty color. Color of death. So we'll make it grayish black like this. And this handle slide area has no visual attached to it, so we'll just delete it. Now, if we move the value, just go ahead and say none. So now the only problem left is that the sliders always have this dot at the end, which is the reason we may want to use a custom slider later on. But this is going to be okay. We're going to go ahead and have the ability to display the contents like this. Now, the thing is that this display has very little space on it. So putting in the actual values, physical, like 220 out of 400, will be tough. For now, I'm not going to bother. Later on, I might change this out so that that sort of thing happens. But for now, I think it's okay as it is. There we are. So this resource list background here, we're going to go and punch it all the way up because we want to be able to see it. We're also going to use a different layout. There we are. Chop back. That's fine. That's just fine. Yep. Everything looks fine. So this is going to be one of our resource objects. This displays the amount of any given resource in a particular object. The problem with this is that there is no current code for hooking these together. So right now, how do you make this reflect the changes that are in an object? Well, you need to have some kind of mapping system. The question is, what's the best way to create that mapping system? Well, that's complicated because it can be one class for each of the different kinds of mixins that we need to display. The problem with that approach is that you have to code a lot of classes that are nothing but display code. Another option is that we can have the classes respond with some basic information about themselves when you ask them what they want to display, and have the classes themselves be responsible for hooking up their outputs to the correct inputs here. That's what I did with the original version. I made it so that each class had a bevy of specific outputs that it would hook up properly. Problem with that approach is that it mixes the visualization code and the data code really badly, and it ended up bloating most of our classes and making it difficult to create complex multi-purpose objects. I think that the best bet is to invert it. If I have an interface for a particular, no, well, then each ship mixin would have to have a link to that interface. That would be really obnoxious too. I guess it's probably easiest just to create a visual version of each of the mixin classes here. It's not ideal, but it has the advantage that if I later change my mind, it's pretty easy to fix. So let's create a new C# script called the mixin resource drain visual. Now the issue here is that these are going to end up in the wrong names, in the wrong naming convention. So we're going to should really put these in a namespace. I don't know, spending the next hour putting shit in namespaces seems to be a pretty boring way to spend your guys' time, so we'll just go ahead and keep piling up the words here. It's okay. So here we're going to go ahead and pull in the UI elements here, and that'll allow us to have things like text, resource, and public resource text, and public slider percentage, and we're also going to have numeric text. There we go. And what we're going to want to do is allow our mixin to call us. So public void initialize mixin resource drain mixin. Target equals mixin. Target equals mixin. If resource text dot does not equal null, then resource text dot text equals target dot resource. Well, this is mixin resource drain. Why did I start with the drain? Unfortunately for me, I don't need to start with the drain. It is actually the delete stockpile that I need to start with. And pasted. This is obviously going to need to be a stockpile rather than a visual or drain or whatever the heck it was. Yeah. And then here we'll say target dot resource. Yeah, still right. Priority, amount. It's fine. And then we'll just go ahead and put an update. Void, it's a public void refresh. So the mixin should report when things change, but the thing about this is that any event which allows these mixins to change is time independent and only gets called when a critical resource event happens. So we actually need to call this refresh with every frame update instead. And this may sound a little bit silly, but the thing is, you're only going to have these visuals up on your screen when you're actively looking at a ship. And the visual has no way of knowing whether you're looking at a ship 1 frame per second, or 1 frame per hour, or 1 frame per day, or 1 frame per tenth of a second, or whatever, because you can scale it up however fast you want. And the ships don't compute per frame. They compute via a system of resource waypoints, or resource checkpoints. So what we need to do is we need to just reflect the current value every frame without bothering to wait for it to tell us anything. So we're going to say if target equals null, turn. I guess we can put in a little warning here. Debug.log, no target for name. Otherwise, we're going to say if numeric text does not equal null, then numeric text.text equals target.amount. We're going to want to mathf.round that. Plus target.maxAmount. If percentage does not equal null, then percentage.value equals mathf.round. No, not even rounding. Just target.amount divided by target.maxAmount. There we go. And that means that we will get the current value in this item every frame, no matter how long a frame is or how short a frame is. And that should allow us to quickly set up this kind of situation. Target.priority, how did that happen? There we go. So here in this resource list, we're going to go ahead and drop in that visual. Boom. For now, we're going to set it up with a link back to the fuel tank. That will become adaptive once we've finished testing it. There we go. Let's go ahead and set the slider up to something that it wouldn't be, like this. Hit play and see what happens. Well, it filled up, but why can't I see it? That's interesting to me that I can't see it. I guess it should be in the ship scale? That seems weird. I bet this is wrong. I bet this is going to make it completely invisible still. Oh no, I can see it now. Alright, that's interesting. So the real answer here is that it should still be UI, but our ship-size camera should be able to see UI. There you go. This is quite a distance for it to move. That's fine, though. So here you can see that the fuel has been updated. And if we were to select this item and just change the level of the fuel like this, you can see how it instantly updates frame to frame. And so that's the trick here. The problem is that we're going to have to be careful about how we set these things up as decreasing so that we don't create a nasty chain with the long-term estimation math getting interfered with by the local resource stockpile updates. Now, I don't expect anyone to have understood a thing about what I said there because I'm talking about systems that don't exist yet. Well, they exist in one of the prototypes, but not this one. So, that seems to be a decent enough way to handle it. This resource list is going to be what we're going to want to hook up to anything that has a pop-up where we're going to want to put this in. We're going to need a Wrangler class that understands how to set up the correct visuals for the correct classes. The other option is to have the visuals linked to, like prefab links. But if we do that, then every single time we ever create a mix-in, we're going to have to reconnect it, because there is no way to specify a default for that, I don't think. Is there a way to do a default? Let me just check here. Jojo says, when do you plan on adding Sims to the ships, and what are you going to call them? I don't know what I'm going to call them yet, but it's going to be a while before we get to the Sims. You're going to be able to pilot the ships around before I put Sims on them. There are already logical Sims on board. They're just, they don't do anything or feel anything or anything like that. The Sims are the biggest chunk of the game in terms of difficulty. So we're going to get some stuff done first. Now let's look up Unity default prefab and see whether we can set up some defaults. And apparently there was no way to do it back in 2014, and nobody else has ever commented on it. Oh, interesting. I uploaded a video saying that I was streaming, and for some reason it stuck at 0% processing. The video is 4 seconds long. I guess I'll upload it again. Look at all this content. Streaming tag 2. Streaming. We'll go ahead and publish the one that's actually getting processed and is now already done. Why the first one is still busted, I don't know, but let's go ahead and delete it. That was stupid and obnoxious. The one time I remembered to hit publish and it didn't work anyway. Whee! Alright. So we need some method of allowing classes to reference which of these objects needs to be instantiated for them without making the players or the editors drag a prefab onto every single instance of the mix-in they ever create. So the answer to that is that we're going to need to have some sort of method of linking a given prefab to a given class. The problem is I'm not actually sure what the best way to do that is, but I think I have an idea. Jojo is posting a lot of random stuff. He's had too much sugar. I think what I want to do is create a universe-based setup here. So here in Universe.io, this is a good place for it. We're going to go ahead and add some more content here. And the content we're going to add is a list of all of the... Do we have to even do it here? I guess it would be better to make it a static. So public static mix-in UI public static. Guess I need to descend from a singular class, don't I? Well, I can be descended from a mono behavior. Except then I would have to do it a different way. Okay, hold on. I have to do a little bit more work before I can do this part. Create C# script mix-in visual. So the mix-in visual is what the rest of these are going to descend from. And they're all going to have a target. But I think what we want to do is set this up to have a secondary target. Public mixin. Is it called just a mixin or a ship mixin? Called a ship component mixin. Target type, or target example. And what we're going to do is put this tooltip here. Tooltip used in the inspector to define the target type. There are a lot of other ways to do this, but I don't think they're compatible with Unity's unusual method of how it displays its inspector stuff. So I think that's what we're going to have to do. And that shouldn't be too hard. There is an alternative to that, though. Yeah, let's use an alternative to that. So let's go ahead and public void uses type. And we're going to take in a ship component mixin target, or what do you want to call it? I guess target's fine. Have everything be target, why not? And what we're going to do is we're going to just grab the local ship component mixin. So equals get component ship component mixin. If we say local example equals null, then we're going to go ahead and throw an error, debug.log error, resource visual. Like, this is all in the mixin visual has no example mixin attached, will never function. Turn null or false. Of course, we're not doing void here, we're doing a bool. Otherwise, we're just going to compare the two types. So if local example dot, is it type of local example? No, it's local example dot, I always forget the keyword here, get type, there it is. Oh, I just returned this, yeah. Perfect. And we're also going to want to set up an initialize and an update and a refresh. Ship component mixin. Mixin. Wow, I spelled that wrong. Bye, Jojo Jet. And then here we're going to go ahead and set up the target as mixin resource stockpile targ equals target as mixin resource stockpile. There we go. There are a lot of other things, other ways to do this, and I'm not at all sure that this is the best way to do it. But we'll see. Anyway, these are now overrides. All right. So here we have a setup where we have these mix-in visuals, and then they descend into specific mix-ins for each of the specific stockpiles. And that makes sense logically because each of the mix-in mix-in types are descended from the same base class as well. So we're just doing the same thing on both sides. That said, I'm not at all sure that this approach is the best. We'll have to find out. Either way, we're going to want to have a list of valid mix-in visuals here. And we'll put them at the bottom. Default mix-in visuals. There we go. We're going to want to be able to grab the default mix-in visual that matches our particular mix-in. Let's go ahead and make that static. Public static mix-in visual, find visual. Then we'll get ourselves a ship component mix-in. And we're going to just go through all of them. So for each mix-in visual mv in live.default mix-in visuals, if mv.uses type mix-in, return mv, else return null. Let's go ahead and throw a barf if we return null. Debug.log error, no default visualization for mix-in type plus mix-in. There we go. That should work, I think. Well, we'll find out. So now what we've got to do is we've got to have it so that pressing something creates all these visuals for the ship that you're currently targeting. Or we can have them be created automatically when you place an object. For now, let's go ahead and put them into when you place an object, they get created. But we're going to have to change that later. So here's where we build the object. We stick it down. Let's just go ahead and find it. Mix-in visual, or we should definitely have this be something that's on the individual object. So we'll just go ahead and say cursor.get component ship component dot visualize. There we are. And we'll do a ship component here. We'll have to have a visualize in our ship component. We'll just go ahead. That. So we have a serialize, and now we have a visualize. We're also going to need an unvisualize. And the way this is going to work is we're going to go ahead and create a mix-in visual for each of our valid mix-ins. So ship component mix-ins equals get components children ship component mix-in. For each ship component mix-in in mix-ins, we'll go ahead and get the correct visual. Mix-in visual mv equals, you know what? We can actually put this on here. We'll just put it in doop 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 doop. Return universe IO dot find visual mixin. Mixin visual dot find visual for the mixin. Debug.log. Debug.log. Visualized. Now I'm not actually creating anything, so I don't have to worry about that. But I just want to see whether or not it can correctly find visuals as I establish them. Anyway, we have to start dropping stuff into other places here, but there are some errors. Does the mixin visual not have an initialize? Sure does. Oh, it's just not. There we are. Any other complaints? Nope. Okay. So what we're going to need to do is save this resource list. We're going to change it into a ship component or a mixin resource stockpile visual. And we're going to drop that into our UI directory, which is somewhere here. There it is. It'd be good to put this into the pop-up UI, I think. Boom. So we're going to go down to our universe and just drop it in as a mixin visual. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and try it on for size. So right now, we haven't placed anything, and we're going to place a tank. Where is our tank? Hydrogen tank. Boom. Now we should get a... Perfect. So, ship components, camera schema is null. Remove from control stack. Max carry for energy reached. Null construction. This is what we need to do. Cursor.get component. Oh, because the cursor has been. Hold on. But that's just a hack. We're going to be getting rid of that momentarily, so I'm not too worried about it. What we really need to have is a ship-based toggle. We're not going to be toggling each part individually. Still got an error. Oh, okay, component children. All right, so if we take a look, we have some responses here. Mixin visual has no example mixin attached, will never function. So that's correct. Let's go ahead and put in an example mixin. So here we can see that we have a resource stockpile visual. We're going to just drop in a resource stockpile. Boom. Now the idea here is that we're going to end up deleting this when we actually instantiate the object. So we're going to call this error. That's all. Let's go ahead and hit play. Oh wait, I forgot to save it, didn't I? Hydrogen tank and drop it in. Boom. So here we can see that it worked. We got a mixin resource stockpile that works. Now the question is, when we load up something else, like a hat straight, what happens? Hmm. It just says visualized without ever telling me what it got. Now, obviously, that's correct, but it shouldn't just say visualized. It should say error couldn't find. Oh, that's because it's debug log. So we'll go ahead and put in more than that. Yeah, that's fine. Visualized is fine. If mv equals null, debug.log, no visual for, and then the mixin. Now the problem here is that we are actually going to need to have a proper error pop up. And I'm not sure why it didn't, because I programmed one in. We look over at the universe.io, here it is. Debug.log error, no default visualization for mixin type blah. Which I don't see here anywhere. So that's odd. Oh, I'm an idiot. I was picking things that don't have any mix-ins. So we'll pick something that does have a mix-in, and it's just not a stockpile. Like, this antenna. There we go. Well, that's not the error I expected. Here it is. No default for type for mix-in class antenna clone. There we go. Perfect. All right, so everything's working great. This will work great. All we have to do is make it work. Great. It looks like my regulars have all gone off to do something else. That's fine. Welcome to anyone who happens to be stopping by. I think it is Keelblock and ZSalt, which both sound new. I'll probably leave in a few minutes because this stream is just me doing boring dev work. You can get the prototype here. Paste. No, that's code. You can't get the prototype there. Boom, 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 boom. All right, now that we've done that, what we're going to want to do is instead of putting that in the creation of the actual object, we're going to want to put it in the ship. And the ship is going to be responsible for trawling through all of its objects. So just go into the ship object itself. There. And we'll create some new stuff here. We've got the serialization. We're going to have a rendering. This is good. Public void. Display engineering UI. Bool display. Or other set engineering. And then we're going to get all the components in the ship. Now the ship components should have a big list, but first things first, we're going to want to say if, or just put a to-do here, to-do, if parts not shown, don't show the engineering. Otherwise, we're going to want to go through all of the various parts and set them to show what they need to show. So we have a list of parts. It's been a while since I've been in here. Ship component list. Component list. So component list dot components. There it is. So for each ship component sc in ship component list. There it is. sc.visualize, or unvisualize, as the case may be. If display sc.visualize, else sc.unvisualize. Did I spell that wrong? It's got a capital V because I'm an idiot. Let's go ahead and spell it right before we proceed any further. So we need an object or a button press that will visualize and unvisualize the ship. Which button would we use? Keelblock says, hi, first time I've caught you live. Looks interesting. I followed via your YouTube, I believe. Well, you're welcome to my Twitch stream as well. It's pretty laid back, and I usually get about 4 viewers, but it keeps me focused, so that's the important part. So we have a ship that needs to be visualized, and we need a button to do that. If we look at our project settings inputs, we've got a bunch of buttons, obviously, but we don't have a button to display the ship. We've got, right now, tab does a mode switch, but the mode switch brings up the overall menu, not anything else. Now, if I was thinking about what button I would want to hook up here, most of the alteration buttons like Shift, Control, and Alt are going to be taken up by construction duties. So we need to have like a dedicated button for pop-ups. And I think that button can be, let's just make it, by default, we'll make it T. That should be fine. We don't need to invert it, though, do we? Why it's inverted. So now when we hit T, we'll get a pop-up request. We can take that over here into our ship construction controller and read pop-up requests. So we're also going to want to have a visualization or engineering mode toggle. And we'll go ahead and put it here. Protected bool engineering UI displayed equals false. Public void toggle engineering UI. Set engineering UI not engineering UI displayed. Say engineering UI displayed equals display. That would go best at the end, I think. There we go. And so what that'll do is it will allow us to create just a quick toggle here in our resource. Nope, here it is. So we're going to take a look into our system. Where is our control update? Here it is. So we're going to have a toggle here. If input.get button down pop up, then ship.toggle engineering GUI. There we are. That'll do. Over here in ship.toggle engineering GUI, we should see plenty of options. So let's go ahead and try it out. Let's put in a nuclear reactor. This should give us nothing, but then let's put in some tanks, and they should give us something. There's our ship. Lovely, lovely. Now what we're going to do is go over to the console, hit clear, and then hit T. Interesting. Oh, the component list hasn't been set up properly, huh? It's a little unexpected. Oh, because it's not a custom update. I see now. So, it might be best to just manually search. So we'll have a ship component array SCS if component list does not equal null, then SCS equals component list dot components. Else SCS equals get components in children, ship component, true. That should do. Try that again. Some hydrogen tanks, clear, and T. All right, so you can see that both of those got visualized, although really there's nothing popping up yet, so it doesn't actually matter much. Let's put in a nuclear reactor and see whether it throws an error like it should. I get any errors? Get a max carry reached error though. Interesting. Does that reactor not have any attached parts? Did I forget to actually make it a reactor? Which is quite likely because right now the parts aren't known for doing things. Oh yeah, that's the problem. For some reason I decided that the nuclear reactor wouldn't have any ship components attached to it, which is why it wasn't giving me any visualization. That's fine. So that should all work. But right now there is no actual pop-up. So what we're going to need to do is have an actual pop-up for our systems. Now there are a couple of ways to go about doing this, but we're going to want to put a canvas marker in the center of our ship, and then use these as not individual canvases, but as panels inside a canvas, because otherwise they're going to be really expensive. Every canvas is expensive. I think. Pretty sure that every canvas is a price. But it is a new beta. Let's go post to Twitter whether or not that's true. See if anyone can tell me. Can anyone tell me if it is any cheaper to use scattered game space panels or game space canvases versus one game space canvas with scattered panels? Question mark. Post unit. I suppose I could look it up. I mean, like, try it out. But maybe people will be able to tell me without me having to look it up. Or try it out. All right. Don't think I need anything else from any of those folks, so let's take a look at what we've got next. We don't have any concept of canvases. Right now, let's go ahead and make them individual canvases. We're going to need to have a per part object anyway, so it might as well be a canvas. So here we're going to need to have a new object. So let's delete this. We're going to call this a engineering UI element. And it's going to be the overview of an entire part. And we'll just drop that into our UI. Boom. And then down here in the universe IO, we're going to add in a public vertical layout. I don't have the UI, do I? Public vertical layout group. What do you call it? Yeah, engineering UI element prefab. Exciting. So what we're going to want to do is for every part, we're going to want to pop up the engineering prefab. So here in the ship, we call it a ship component, and here in the ship component, we're going to get the individual parts. So vertical layout group, VLG, or equals universe io.live.engineering prefab. We probably will want to fix that up to be a little bit less unwieldy later. But for now, we're just going to centralize all that shit. And we'll say VLG, we're going to instantiate it. So we're going to say VLG equals VLG.instantiate. Vertical layout group dot instantiate VLG. And then we're going to put it, so set parent or transform dot set parent transform, comma false. Then we're going to move it up some. So VLG.transform.location plus equals, no, that's local scale. Position. Plus equals vector3.up times 3. And I think that'll work. And then what we're going to do is in here, we're going to have, well, this is not going to be something which we can memorize. So protected vertical layout group active engineering element. So let's say active engineering element equals G. Here we're going to say if active engineering element does not equal null, or does equal null, do these things. So then we get on with the mix-ins, and we get these mix-in visuals. And what we actually want to do is continue. What we actually want to do is instantiate them. So mix-in visual.instantiate MV, but we're going to want to set that up as mix-in visual that we understand. So there we are. Now when we instantiate the MV, we're going to call the MV's initialize. So here in initialize, what we're going to want to do is remove our local example. So destroy example. So here we'll just instantiate, or initialize rather, initialize, and we're going to give it a ship component mixin, which will be our mixin, like so. But we're also going to want to put it in the correct location. So mv.transform.setParent active engineering element.transform, comma false. There we are. That should create it. And then what we're going to do down here with unvisualize is just destroy the active engineering element.transform. .game object, I guess. But we're going to want to only do that if it exists. So if active engineering element does not equal null, then destroy it. And that should do. Let's see whether or not any of that works. Got any errors for me? Seems to be working. And if we drop in a... Oh, I forgot to put in the... Hold on. Gotta actually put it onto the universe. If it's not in the universe, we're not going to be able to find it. So, engineering UI element. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I put it in the canvas, didn't I? Wrap this stuff in here. There you go. Now it should work, right? Let's find out. Keelblock says, are these videos available on Twitch? Yeah, for a month. Twitch then deletes them. I also post them to YouTube, so if you go to my YouTube page, you'll find an archive of them. Let's try it out here. Universe. Drop in the engine element. All right, so now we should be able to get that working. Let's try it out. Put in some tanks. And hit T. Ha 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 ha! Yeah, it worked! So I think this method's gonna work great. And we hit T to drop it off, T to bring it back. Boop, 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 boop. And if we're wondering whether or not that actually works, it should be easy to find out. We're gonna just go ahead and grab the item question is, and just adjust mount. Alright. So this technique can be easily used to create visuals for all of the different mix-ins that we've got. And that should allow us to even have different visuals if you have the same mix-in twice. So for example, if I were to copy this mix-in and then paste component as new, and then I were to hit T twice, you can see how I now have two hydrogen lists. If I change this to be vodka, and then I hit T, you can see that now that one's vodka, and they update individually. So that's nice and fast. Now, I'm hoping so, Keelblock. This game is very different from the standard game that you'd normally play, just because I'm not really that interested in dogfighting games, so it doesn't have any of the standard gameplay that you'd come to expect, and it's more like The Sims. And it's more like Lost in Space, but The Sims is a game that everyone recognizes. Anyway, we can just add in more parts here, like the radio dish, and if we hit T twice, you can see that this causes errors because we don't have anything for the radio dish to show. We don't understand the concept of missions or anything like that. Alright, so that was an hour and a half of streaming, and I got really good stuff done. I could keep streaming for a while, but I've talked like 20 hours over the course of this week. Maybe I'll do a few more. I don't want to be a total... I think I want to go for at least 2 hours, because I only went for 1 hour on Wednesday, and that was super slow. So we're going to just drop the stockpile visual back in here. But we're also going to want to... create another one, which is going to be a different object. So if we look at our mix-ins, we've got a bunch of different mix-ins, like the breakables. So this will be our mix-in breakable. Mix-in breakable visual. It's going to descend from the mix-in visual. Keelblock is a space enthusiast. So here's the stockpile visual, and we're going to just basically clone all of this stuff. It doesn't need the same details because the breakable is not going to be a text or anything like that. Rather, it's just going to be an on-off. So we're going to want to have an image or a toggle. So public toggle. I don't think we even need to initialize this. We're going to want to make sure that the mix-in visual does set up the target when you set up the target here. Initialize target equals mix-in. Over here in our resource stockpile, we can take that target and equals mix-in out because it's not necessary. So here, we're just going to say if toggle does not equal null, then we're going to set it. Toggle dot is on equals target as mix-in breakable dot. Oh, it doesn't actually have a value for that. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and pop open the breakable and surface that, because obviously it's kind of silly. public bool functioning. Get return true at the moment. Return parent is broken, I guess. It's functional. All right, that should do. Over here in the breakable visual, we'll just set that up here. Functioning. There we are. And back here, we're going to go ahead and modify this to be what we need it to be, which is the resource, the mix-in breakable visual. And obviously, we don't need this stuff. We just need a toggle. There we are. It's toggle. Table. And we're going to go ahead and have this be a little bit set up a little bit more aggressively so that we can really tell when something is either busted or working. Checkmark's not going to be a checkmark. It's going to be something much more noticeable, like this guy, maybe? If we did that, we'd have to make the other one that as well. Maybe it's just going to be the same thing, input field. And we'll have this be this. This label will just be, yeah, that's fine. So that's our mix in break and visual. We're going to have to remove these. Boom. And we're going to add in our new scripts for them. So now that can be dropped into our pop-up UI, and then the pop-up UI can be dropped into the universe. This. Let's do another one. Hooray! We're going to skip some of these for now, come back to them later. But we do have this mix in mission component that we build, so let's go ahead and do that. Mix in mission component visual. Mix in visual. So we're just going to go ahead and put in the correct namespace, and we're going to go and copy one of these guys. Let's go ahead and copy the one that's a little bit closer to what, well, that doesn't really matter, does it? This is fine. Oh, that's not it. That's not a visual at all. Let's copy. So one of the things that we can do is we can override the initialize just to set up the name properly. Because otherwise it might have the wrong name. So we're going to want to be able to refer to our various texts and stuff. So public text. I've forgotten what these actually contain. So here is a mix-in mission component. It uses a user stat. Now let's go ahead and create the required element. So this will be our mix-in mission component visual. It's going to be a lot more complicated than this because the mission components are some of the most complicated objects in the game. So we're not going to need a toggle, for example. But we are going to have to make this substantially larger, say 60. And for some reason, the engineering element is actually going in the wrong direction. There we are, that's what we want. So we're going to have to save this engineering element delete this. And undelete it. Oh, I bet I have to. Let's move it out for a second. There we are. Wait, did I? Oh, that should work. Yeah, good. So this is going to need to have a bunch of elements here. Let's get started. Text. Mission. Element. Mission. Yeah, just mission. That's fine. Self a panel. To anchor to the top like this and down like so. To the end like this. So it's 3, 30. It's not the right spot. Put a UI element in here, the text box. We'll give it some sort of stat here, so technical. And we're going to want another one of these. This panel. Stuck at the top. So. What's the other thing we've got? We've got. So if we look at our mission components, we've got the user stat and we got the mission stat. Yeah, that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and just display those. We're not going to display every single mission. Not today, at least. We don't actually need the panel. Let's go ahead and drop it up here and delete the panel. These guys will move down like this. This will be stat. This will be mission. And this will be an arrow key. Should probably use an actual image of an arrow, but I don't have one at the moment, so that'll do. So over here in the component here, we're going to need to have a stat, mission, and we're going to want to set them up just once. We don't need the refresh to work at all here. Mixin mission component. C equals mixin as mission, mission component. We say stat, or if stat does not equal null, then stat.text equals c.stat. If mission does not equal null, then mission.text equals c.missionstat. Boom. Easy as pie. It's going to want to set that up. No, didn't take. Apparently I forgot to delete the toggle. I did. Brilliant. Now, there are other values I could show here, like the entry size and stuff like that, but those are long-term values that are okay to not show at this stage. It's fine if a player doesn't know them because they're stuck with them, whatever they happen to be. We'll deal with that later if I do need to do it better, because it's not a big deal. Let's go ahead and... Oh, I missed, didn't I? I did miss. Put it there. Let's drop this in the universe. Boom. Save it. And let's give it a shot. So we're going to add in some stuff here, like some fuel tanks. And then we're also going to add in antenna. And then we're going to hit T. It didn't work. Did that pop up an error? Did we barf? Did. It looks like we might have passed a stockpile visual that was the wrong type into one of these objects. Oh, target isn't assigned yet. Idiot. Okay, that's fine. Not a biggie. Let's put in those fuel tanks again, like so. And then maybe some fuel cells just for good measure. And then we'll put in an antenna. Yeah. T. Hey, look at all that stuff. You can see that we have some problems with alignment. When it becomes multiple lines, it screws up. That's interesting. Alright, well, we can fix that. This is just to truncate. It's also a little too... oh, that's the wrong one. This is it. And we'll just go ahead and set this up as 12. Now let's go ahead and try it one more time. Just put in an antenna. Just quickly check it out. T. Obviously the placement is kind of rough at this stage. Needs some work. The basic idea, as you can see, is sound. I think that's probably a good place to stop for today. I'll finish the rest of them some other time. I'll probably release another one of these prototypes next Saturday, just before I start my next major stream. I will be streaming on Wednesday as well. Hey, Pink Hair, you have great timing. I was just going to stop. I forgot to put your image in the backdrop. It just didn't occur to me. Why don't I do that since you're here? Just need to... Assets. Sprites. No, it would be actually quite difficult to get it from where I am now. Saved it to a different computer. So don't worry about it. I will go ahead and do that on Wednesday, or between now and Wednesday. But in case you're wondering what you missed, Pink Hair, I added in sound effects and filters and these UI pop-ups and all sorts of stuff. Oh, well, if you want to send me a new error-free image, feel free. I've talked about 18 hours over the course of the past couple of days, and my voice is getting pretty bad. So I'm gonna probably stop now. But I'll be happy to chat with you in the chat for the next 10 minutes or so. Or you can send me an email or whatever. Hope to see you guys on Wednesday or Saturday if you're watching this late. And if you're watching it now, why didn't you say anything? Bye.